Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5th ever Flutter Brigade Roundtable. I am your awesome host, Fluttershy1989, and with me again are my loyal co-hosts, Ed.
Hello, everybody. Good to be back, as usual, to talk about ponies.
And that guy, Mond.
Yes, I realize I do say that during podcasts a lot, but I will change it this week because I'm merciful.
I doubt that, but anyways, to kick off the show, we'll do like what we always do. We'll talk about the latest episode, which was Leap of Faith. So if you guys want to start, go ahead.
I'll let Ed take this.
Well, this is an interesting case because we're kind of all over the place in terms of whether we share similar views and scores on the episodes. Recently, we've been more or less in tandem with high scores for most of the recent episodes. But with this episode, Leap of Faith, we're kind of all over the place. This is probably one of the most, divisive episodes for the three of us since Daring Don't. In terms of score-wise, personally, I loved Leap of Faith. I thought it was a really, really good AJ episode. In fact, I would say it's not only the best AJ episode since Applebuck season 1. I would also say that it's the best Josh Haber episode that he has written, and this is his third episode so far for the season after Castlemania and Simple Ways. It was great to see Flim and Flam return. I mean, they're not characters I'm really particularly fond of or love, but I certainly don't hate them either. I'm kind of I'm indifferent whether they come back or not. I'm glad that they kept them as con artists. I mean, I don't believe every character in MLP should be redeemed. I think that'd be redundant, and it would go contrary to, it wouldn't be a realistic lesson to teach kids, because it'd be like, well, Trixie can be redeemed, yeah, and maybe at some point if Gilda comes back, maybe she can be redeemed. But, some characters, they're just always going to be, bad or shady characters. That's just the way that they are. And, like Flim and Flam are such characters, But, it was great to see them come back. I liked how they set up the setting of the story, whereas they're in this kind of like circus tent, you're doing another one of their demonstrations for their newest product, this Miracle Tonic, and all of a sudden, Applejack and Big Mac, Apple Bloom, Granny Smith, the whole Apple family, they're walking back to the farm, and they're, basically, they hear the music coming from the circus, and they're like, well, let's go check this out. Apple Bloom and Granny Smith want to check it out, and Applejack's like, I don't know about this, but why not? And sure enough, they go inside. It's Flim and Flam, and AJ and Big Mac are immediately suspicious. But Granny Smith and Apple Bloom are taken in by the spectacle of the show, and eventually, with the help of a one pony who later revealed to be in the act pretending to be ill just for the sake of the show, Granny Smith is sold, buys the Miracle Tonic because she believes it will cure her aches in her body and all that. And sure enough, at first it appears that she's cured because, we see her swimming like she's younger and everything, and she feels confident again, and she's able to interact a lot more physically with the rest of the family and stuff, and she's a lot more nimble. And even to the point where she wants to try diving again like she did when she was younger. She used to be, a semi-professional diver. She was very athletic when she was younger. And so she's just got this, energy back. And it seems like it's due to this tonic. But of course, later on, we find out that the tonic is fake, and it's just water mixed with some kind of, some kind of other ingredients or that I don't really remember what they were. But obviously, it's just a fake elixir. And, Applejack really struggles with her honesty here. Much like how Fluttershy was tested, the limits of her kindness were tested, and it ain't easy being Breezy's. I feel in a similar way, Applejack's honesty was put to the test here in that she had to realize, okay, well, when should I be honest, and when should I just hold back and see what happens and, just let things go their course. Eventually, she just got the courage to, put her hoof down and say, you know what, this isn't right. This tonic that the Flim Flam brothers are selling is fake. It doesn't do a lick of good for anybody. And yeah, Granny Smith is like more confident, but it was really just more an issue of mind power, willpower, that tricked herself into thinking that she could actually do something, whereas before she had this negative attitude, I'm too old, I can't do anything. But it had nothing to do with the tonic. And so in a sense, AJ, basically just puts the Flim Flam brothers out on the spotlight, and it's like, okay, you guys are at it again, and you've tricked everybody, and so they, quietly slip away while everybody's kind of caught up in the, the moment. And AJ gets her key, which ironically was a bit. I thought that was kind of funny because, money is not exactly the root of all honesty, if you know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, that was strange. But other than that, I thought it was a really good episode. I liked the character development that AJ got. I liked seeing the Flim Flam brothers back. We got another song, which was very similar to the Cider song in season 2 when they first appeared. And all in all, I thought it was a very solid episode, and I was pleasantly surprised. Because coming from Josh Haber, he's not exactly one of my favorite writers this season. And, Castlemania is my least favorite episode. So I had mixed feelings about this, knowing that he wrote the episode. But it really surprised me. And I quite enjoyed it. And I gave it a 9 out of 10. But as you're about to hear, my friends and co-hosts have very different ratings, and they saw things in a very different light. Almost as if we watched 2 different episodes. So it's kind of funny in that aspect. But I really enjoyed the episode myself.
Boo.
Yeah.
I really don't have a lot to say about the episode because truly I found it like the most boring episode of the season, the most forgettable episode of the season, and the most stupid episode of the season. It really shouldn't have existed in any way. They could have done AJ's Key episode so much better than what they actually did. So I'm only rating this like 0.5. It doesn't even get a 1. It was that bad for me. Mon, you can go.
Yeah, the thing is, I wouldn't rate it nearly as bad as Flutter's has. But the thing about it, this episode, is that it just really didn't feel like anywhere near good. It just felt kind of mediocre, to be honest. Really, I mean, there was a lot that I found wrong with it. Firstly, it just seems that the writers this season can't really write AJ all that well. And I think it's because we've had 2 new writers on the AJ episodes, and namely those are Scott Sunborn and Josh Haber. And the thing about those 2 writers is that, yeah, they're new to the staff. They probably have an idea of what AJ is supposed to be like, but as you guys know from my review of Some Pony to Watch Over Me, I just thought the whole thing was contrived, and I sort of felt the same with this episode. It really just felt like it was a bunch of different tropes that we've seen elsewhere, just kind of thrown together in a weird... I mean, it made some sense, but I mean, it just seemed like a bunch of components just like thrown on the ground. And it's like, like the writer is just like, yeah, it's close enough to a story. It makes a little bit of sense, but I mean, I'll concede this point, Ed. I did think that there was some character development for AJ. As far as her character goes, yes, she was being a little bit less than honest in that episode, and I think that fits with the general theme of these Key episodes. Is that most of them are the pony's elements being taken to, I guess, extremes, are being tested to a certain extent. But the thing is, it just felt like even though she was tested, her reaction was so, I guess, stereotypical and so bland and so, like, it felt so detached. Like, there wasn't really any, it didn't feel like she was conflicted so much about it. I mean, there seemed like there was a level of conflict within her within her psyche or something like that. But it just didn't feel like, I don't know. When I think of it, it didn't feel authentic to me. And the reason why is just the episode overall used Flim and Flam in almost, I wouldn't say the same way as they did in season 2, but I mean, they didn't really vary it that much. They're still con artists. They're still selling something to turn a profit, and they're still deceiving. The the ponies from in Ponyville, you know, just so they can enrich themselves, and sort of another tangent that they're in both of those episodes, they're trying to what do you call it? They're trying to basically manipulate the Apple family. That's really all it is. And when it comes to dimensionality with static characters like Flim and Flam, I agree with you. Some characters don't really need to be redeemed because it technically isn't necessary. And yeah, sometimes it isn't realistic. But the thing is, the dimensionality of them wasn't even one-dimensional. It felt zero-dimensional. Like, they just really are like automatons, like robots. They do the same exact thing with like very little variation, and it just felt overall, in an overall sense, mediocre to me. It didn't feel like there was anything new introduced. It didn't feel like there was even anything worthwhile learned from AJ. I mean, yeah, it's better than the last Flim Flam episode where she technically didn't learn anything new. But even in this episode, I get the feeling that, yeah, she's done this before. Like Flutter said, she's done this before with Pinky in the last roundup and such. I mean, she's told less than the truth before. It's just a different situation with the same sort of actions. It just didn't feel good to me. And I guess if I had to put a number on the rating, I wouldn't rate it lower than a 5, but I wouldn't give it higher than a 7. So I put it like around 6.7 to 6.9.
Wow, I can't believe you even put it that high. I seriously can't. Like, I mean, I hate the fact that I have to go on about like how much I hate it, because I really don't like people that do that. But in this case, it would literally degrade me if I gave it any higher than half. It doesn't even get 1 because it's the same stuff we've seen 1,000 times. Some idiots come in and say they have the magical cure for everything. They con a bunch of people into buying it. It's the same storyline I've seen 1,000 times over. There was nothing new about this. And Flim and Flam as a whole, they're the same thing every time. Because from the first episode, when they appeared, was Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000. They were trying to con them into buying that. Then they tried to steal the cider business. In the comic books, they tried to con the hippies out of getting their wagon and stealing a bunch of stuff. They're nothing but con artists, and their personalities never change at all. It's just, they're pointless characters. They shouldn't even be there. And even the song in the last episode, I thought was terrible compared to their first song.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
it's forgettable.
Like, the whole episode to me is just that bland, that boring, so forgettable. The same thing I've seen like so many times that I literally can't give it any more than half. Seriously, 0.5. I can't go any higher. I can't do it. There's no way.
Well, yeah, I agree with you in terms of the song. The song was pretty mediocre. That was disappointing. That much I can definitely agree with.
Yeah. But anyways, enough episode talk, because I could go on for an hour on how lame it was. In fact, I have a sound effect just for such occasion. If it loads.
Mega lame.
There we go. That's my rating. Mega lame. Anyways, moving on. Let's get into our actual topic for today, which is, wait for it, Season 1. Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Back to the past!
We're gonna take you back to the past to watch the ponies that turned bronies into a thing. That was really horrible, and why am I still going with this? Anyways. Alright guys, so I want to get right into this, and I want to ask this question, because I know that it's probably everyone has had a favorite pony at some point, but who was your first favorite pony, and why?
Ed can go first.
Well, I think I've told you guys this a couple of times, but when I first got into the show, I was like many other people. I was trying to get my bearings and see what the show was about and what all the ruckus was about. And, I mean, at the time, I was still trying to remember all the names of the main six. And then I was trying to remember, okay, this element goes with that pony. Okay, wait, what? I thought it was that one. I'm confused. But, that kind of phase. But the first pony I really gravitated to, and I think a lot of people can agree with this and probably have a similar experience, is Rainbow Dash. Like, she's the most instantly likable and the most impressionable when you're new to the show. For a lot of reasons. She's brash, she's flamboyant, she's cool, she's really athletic, she's just got all these awesome moves, and she's kind of got like that kind of attitude and coolness factor that I think makes her the most accessible to new bronies. And I had another reason that she was very similar, and a lot of people in the fandom have done this to death with fan art and fiction and everything. But she's very similar in a lot of ways, personality ways, to Sonic the Hedgehog, which is a series I've been a fan of since I was 4 years old, for over 20 years. And I follow that media through comics and cartoons and games and all that. So that's something I noticed right away with Rainbow Dash. She's almost like a female version of Sonic, except she's a different animal. She's a pony, but she's just as fast. Who's got more or less the same attitude and kind of ego, and she's really cool, and she can kick ass. I mean, she's awesome, But eventually I would change and like Twilight later down the road. But for the first couple of weeks, I really gravitated to Rainbow Dash. I mean, even now, even though Twilight's my favorite pony, Rainbow Dash is still a very solid second favorite for me, and that's something that has never changed in the 2 years that I've been a brony. So, yeah, I mean, I started with Rainbow Dash and moved on to Twilight later,
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, because from when I was first getting into it, like, well, as you know, I used to be a hater, but I don't need to tell that story every week. But when I was first getting into it, I noticed that a lot of people were fascinated with Rainbow Dash, and I was like, okay, so obviously Rainbow Dash is going to be probably the character that I'm probably going to end up with as my favorite too. But shockingly, like, I thought she was cool and awesome and all, but she wasn't my first favorite. My first favorite was Fluttershy right from the beginning, and she's still my favorite now. Next to Luna, of course, but that's on the non-main six list. But yeah, I've been fascinated with Fluttershy from the beginning, simply because at one point years ago, and I'm talking like a long time ago, I went through a very similar shy phase, much like her. So that's why I connected with her on such a unique level. And yeah. Anyways, Mon, what's your thoughts?
Okay, this is gonna get really complicated, because if we're considering non-main six and main six, it's gonna get really weird with me. Basically, I was like Ed when I first started out. I really gravitated towards Rainbow Dash, but I think the reasons for that were interesting because, one, I gravitated her not because I could really relate to her on a personal level, but it was more because she was pretty much everything I wanted to be. Brash, sort of very confident in, herself, and, she's very, I guess, what else is she?
Colorful?
Colorful, basically. Coming out of, like, an emo phase, like, almost, I guess, 3 or 4 years before I even watched the show, probably more than that, actually. I was used to, liking black and, a lot of the neutral colors and everything else like that. And actually, to this day, my favorite colors are still black and red. So one of my favorite colors is a neutral color. But anyway, it took me about, I would say, a good way through season 1 and almost into season 2 before I really chose my favorite pony that is still my favorite today, which is Luna. That happened more because I resonate more with Luna's personality, even though we don't know much about it. From what we know about it, there are little details that just I connect with on a personal level, and I could go on for hours about how I connect. I
actually want to ask you, how did you choose Luna right away, considering we only ever saw her for the last 2 minutes of the two-parter? Like, what made you gravitate to her? Because we didn't see her again for a whole other season.
Yeah, it's complicated because it sort of has to do with how I'm positioned in my own family. Because ironically enough, I am sort of like, my family is sort of like Luna and Celestia's family, except, we don't know who Luna and Celestia's parents are, even if they even have parents. But we know that Celestia is the older and Luna's the younger, and they're of two, they're two siblings as far as we know, who are together, who are related by blood, apparently. But that's the thing. I'm the younger of two siblings. And the thing is, it gets weird here because out of the two siblings, my brother technically aligns with Celestia, but it's weird. I guess he's not so much like Celestia in that he shines brighter than me. I've always been the achiever in the family. But I've always felt that he always gets the attention in terms of his peers. Like, he's able to make friends a lot easier. And he's able to, actually converse with people a lot easier than I am. And I feel a lot like Luna. Here's the thing. Another reason why I gravitate towards her is because I love the night. I am sort of scared by darkness in some ways, but at the same time, things like the moon and the just the whole atmosphere of the night just intrigue me, and I'm like a night owl. That's another reason why I kind of connect on a weird personal level to Luna. But other than that, it's just I have like, from those little aspects of her backstory about how she was always jealous of Celestia and everything. I've always had that feeling in a more minor way towards my own brother. And I guess that's why I sort of gravitated towards her more. I kind of exaggerated in saying that, like, I gravitated to her right away, but it was always in the back of my mind, I guess. And it just sort of, once I saw her in season 2, it just sort of like clicked. But yeah, but in terms of the main 6, like, if we're separating those out, my favorite pony changed from Rainbow Dash in the main 6 to Twilight. So I'm sort of in the same camp as Ed. Yeah, I know you don't like that phrase, I know. But anyway, the reason why is because, and she's actually my second favorite on my overall list. She's very studious and she's very, like, diligent in her work, and that's what I'm like. I'm not always like that with my work, but I try to be. I strive to do that, and a lot of my professors and a lot of my teachers from the past will agree that, yeah, I was one of the most diligent students that they ever had. I've had professors tell me I was writing on levels that were beyond the undergraduate level, which is what I'm studying right now. Like, I'm doing stuff that is beyond what I need to do to get my current degree. So I guess that's why I connect with both Luna and Twilight on, like, personal levels, and that's why they're sort of the two co-favorite ponies of mine.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, and it was actually interesting to hear, because I've always been kind of curious, but I never thought to ask, like, what really made you gravitate to Luna, so that's why I got it out of you now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm slow. But anyways, my next question is, what were your thoughts on the two-parter episode, and was that the episode that hooked you on ponies?
I'll go first with this one. To be honest, I did real, like, a lot of people have said that the two-parter was sort of, I guess, okay. It was good in a way, but it and it hooked them to the show because it sort of was like their introduction. They were eased in, and they were they sort of had the thought that, oh yeah, well, it wasn't bad. It was actually decent. There were elements of Lauren Faust's other works in there. So, that's why they gave it a shot. To me, I don't know. I reacted differently. I I kind of was mixed. I thought, yeah, there are parts of this episode that are really contrived and really over dramatic, like especially, and I know people are gonna like hate me for saying this, but I always cringe when I hear the whole part with Twilight announcing all the elements. I'm like, God, like, what are we, in a superhero like novel? It's like, power twins in the form of, a bucket and a water, and water or whatever. It just felt like, really, like, do you really need to announce that? I mean, I guess you do in some sort of weird way, because it is a children's cartoon, but it felt weird to me. But like every other part, to be honest with you, my thoughts were, yeah, this is really good. I mean, I saw all of these different elements of, what I found out later were Lauren Faust's works, like, the Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and all those different things. Just like all these different little tiny things that I saw in there that really just made me think, oh, wow, this is not like it used to be back in, the early 2000s and, the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. So, yeah, like my reactions were mixed, but overall it was pretty, I thought it was pretty good. It did, in a sense, hook me to, actually go on to watch the other episodes.
Yeah, like my reaction was slightly different. I mean, mind you, it was a good two-parter, but coming from where I came from when I went into watching it, watching the very first episode, I was just thinking, wow, this is incredibly gay, and I was right. Why am I watching this? It's so gay. It wasn't until like the last 3 minutes of that episode it started getting interesting, and then I was like, and then it came up, to be continued. And at the time, my immediate thought was, God damn it, I gotta watch the other half of this shit. But it was the second part of that where things got really interesting and it started to take off. And then I was like, wait a minute, this show's pretty good. Like, I think I'm actually starting to like this thing. I'm thinking, oh God, I'm becoming one of them. And at first I kept lying to myself. I'm like, nah, it's never gonna happen. And well, here I am now. Awful. But seriously though, I like I stated before, I do blame that two-parter for getting most bronies like hooked on the show in the first place. But for me, it wasn't until at least Ticketmaster, which was the third episode, that I was finally hooked on the show and like, yeah, this is it. I can't deny it no more. I'm a brony. I'll stay in the closet for now. I'll tell people later, but then eventually I came out. And, well, like I said, I'm here now. And the world has been an awful place because of that. No, I'm just kidding. Ed, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I had mixed feelings on it going into like Mon. I was maybe I had more doubts than he did or whatever, but like, I remember, going in, I had just found out about the whole brony thing, and I was still trying to wrap my head around it, that it was actually real. And I was wondering, well, why are these people so into this show that's made for little girls? Yeah, it's made by Lauren Faust, who made the Powerpuff Girls and all. Maybe that makes it a little bit different, but still, I mean, it's based on the My Little Pony franchise. How could that be any good? But I found out it was on Netflix, and I kind of so bravely to the fact that I watched it at 5 a.m. when no one else was in the house, and I had the volume really low so nobody could hear it. Yeah, I was
so
totally brave. I know, right? That was me going in. Even though I was completely alone at that time in the house, I still felt the need to turn the volume really low so only I could hear it, because I was very self-conscious going in. I was quite embarrassed I was even watching it. But I watched it, and like Flutters just said, the two-parter, it hooks you in because you want to see what happens after the to be continued part. And like there were parts I thought was really cool, like Nightmare Moon. She looked pretty decent for a villain, pretty dark for what's supposed to be a kid's show. And I like the mythology behind it and the whole legend, the Mare and the Moon and the 1,000 years, the banishment and all that, and the whole history behind Celestia and Luna. That was an interesting turn of events. And then, Twilight trying to be friends with all these other ponies that are so different from her. And that was captivating, like, character interaction-wise. Like, how is that going to work out? And then, as they wrapped things around, that we had all these interactions with the main six, basically demonstrating their different elements in action, like Fluttershy with the Manticore, Rarity, helping out, she's sea surfing with, oh, my mustache, please, and that kind of thing. That part was a little lame, but,
So was your like voice of it. That was so lame.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm not a professional voice actor. But anyway,
Yeah,
getting back
don't quit your day job.
This is my day job. No. Well,
Well, then you're fired.
Oh, crap. But getting back on topic, like, all that, and then there was the first song of the show, which was Pinkie Pie's, Giggle at the Ghost. It's like, oh my God, this is so girly. Why am I watching this? And then what really kind of snapped me out of that way of thinking, I was like, wait a minute, maybe there's more to this, is when she's about to start singing, Twilight's like, tell me she's not, and Ray's like, yes, she is. I'm like, wow, they're actually poking fun at themselves. That's pretty funny. I appreciate that. They're not taking themselves too seriously. And I was like, okay, I'll give this I'll give it more of a chance. I'll stay with this. And then at the end, the climactic battle between Twilight and Nightmare Moon, that was pretty cool. I love the way that they handled the power, the magic, and all that, and the mystery behind that, and how all that worked in that universe. That really captivated me. I thought Rainbow Dash was pretty cool, like I said earlier. But then watching Twilight and the whole mythos behind that, and like her magical abilities, and just the fact, the whole unicorn race fascinated me in the show, the way it was presented. And that's what slowly built up my love and appreciation for, she would eventually become my number one favorite of the main six. But and in the end, where like Nightmare Moon is, freed, and we see it's really Princess Luna, Celestia's younger sister. That was an interesting thing. And then Twilight, of course, ending up staying in Ponyville with all her new friends, and it's like, I want to see more of this. I watched the Ticketmaster, and it's like, okay, that was not bad, but I'm not still entirely sold yet. It wasn't until Applebuck's season I started realizing, hey, I'm really starting to enjoy this. This is a good episode, and this is a decent show. It's a lot better than I expected. The animation is pretty good for Flash. I've never seen Flash animation this good before. The voice acting is pretty good. There's chemistry there, and you can tell these people put decent effort into it. And it's not overly complicated. I mean, obviously, it's not some really awesome masterpiece anime or whatever, but it's not some really dumb, retarded cartoon like half of the stuff you see on Cartoon Network today. There's some genuine thought put into this. And it may be for little girls, but there's something that appeals to everybody of all ages, of both genders. And I immediately realized this. And once I got to Griffin and Brush Off and Ghostbusters, then I realized, you know what? I'm one of these bronies now. I'm sold. I know it. I love this show, and I'm going to watch both seasons, because at the time, seasons 1 through 2 were the only ones on Netflix. So this was back around the end of May, early June of 2012. I ended up watching all 52 episodes in about 2 weeks. I would have watched it sooner, all of it sooner, if it were not for my work schedule. But I was every night going home and watching 2 or 3 episodes of MLP every night or every other night, and I was hooked on it. And before I knew it, I was getting friends, and I was joining streams and a bunch of other stuff, and it just, blew up from there, So, I mean, yeah, I was mixed going in, but like after 4 or 5 episodes in, I realized, hey, this is a really good show. This is something special I've found here. Let's see where this goes. I'm gonna take the pill and go down the rabbit hole, if you will, and see where this leads me.
Yeah, like I said, I can see where you're coming from, because we all pretty much have like similar reactions to that two-parter as a whole, because it was just so well done. I mean, there was a lot of things that maybe could have been tweaked a bit, but like it was damn good. Like if I had to rate the whole thing, I'd definitely give the whole thing, like both episodes, a solid 9, because it was that good. Anyways, we've talked a lot about Luna, so my next question isn't even on my list of questions, and yeah, I'm reading a script. Hooray. But Season 1 Luna or New Luna? Which design do you guys like better, and why?
Both. Oh man, that's a hard question for me, actually. It really is. I mean, you can tell they retconned it to hell with season 2 and like season 1, from season 1 to season 2, because I mean, not only is her hair completely different, and her mane and her tail are completely different, but like her voice is different. Even the color scheme of her coat is different. But I mean, really, to be honest with you, I kind of like the new Luna a little bit better, because not only did they give her a good voice actor, Tabitha is very talented, and I think she did she does very well with Luna whenever Luna does appear. I mean, like with the season 1 Luna, that was some random voice actress that they just threw in there, and it was definitely not Tabitha. It was some other younger voice actress. But yeah, like the design. In terms of design, I do like season 2 and on better because, like, it felt really weird looking at like those two, like, you know, Celestia and Luna in season 1, like during that first parter, you know, that for those first 2 episodes, the first 2-parter, it felt weird because Celestia has this, you know, almost ethereal, like very flowy mane, and tail, and it's not only that, it's like sparkling too. And there's Luna with just blue, like sky blue, normal hair, and it just felt like, okay, they're really sisters. And then, but like by the time they got to season 2. And they actually gave Luna a similar mane style, I was like, I like this. So yeah, I guess that's my thought on it.
Yeah, I bet you did like it. You liked it a lot.
Oh, yes.
Much Luna debauchery goes on at this guy's place, I can assure it. But for me, like, honestly, I gotta straight up say I love both designs because the early design of her looked really good to me. I mean, I thought it was great. But then, like, when she came back in season 2, I was like, what? Because, like, there's never been an explanation, like an official explanation given as to why it changed. We all have our own theories, and we all have, like, little tidbits that have been said here and there. But there hasn't been an official explanation. So,
well, I mean, that's true to a point. I was gonna say during my thing that, yeah, there really hasn't been like a full explanation as to why, but like the comics kind of hinted at the fact that it was sort of like this weird lack of confidence and lack of like power, almost like it almost seemed like her magic was drained.
Yeah,
and that's why it was like she didn't look the same. Yeah. But even then, that's like that seems a little tenuous, and and a lot of it has to deal with headcanon. So I will agree with that.
Exactly. Like, my biggest complaint about it is she went from, as we know, like you said, the sky blue, whatever, smaller. She just instantly changed, no explanation given. But then we have the season 4 opener, and it takes place in the past during the flashback scene. She looks exactly the same as she did season 2. See, now that's where I start thinking, hey, that's not right. Shouldn't she look like she did in season 1? Why did she change? Could you please explain this to me? Like, that's what I've been dying to know. I mean, it's nice that we finally got some of their backstory, but even still, there needs to be an official explanation as to why she changed from season 1 to season 2. Ed, what are your thoughts, man?
Somehow I get the feeling we'll never get that explanation, sadly. I'd love to. I go with it. My headcanon, my way of thinking is basically more or less what the comic said, and expanded upon that. I don't remember where I heard this, but a while back I heard somebody's theory I thought was pretty brilliant, and I've accepted as my official, theory of what happened is that the way she looked, the reason she looked exactly the way she does in the flashback in season 4 is because, before she became Nightmare Moon for the first time, when she was hit by the elements of harmony that beam from Celestia and was banished to the moon, she was there for 1,000 years. My view is that the magic of her magic was drained over time, and she lost the ethereal effect on her mane and tail, and she kind of lost physical stature because she was getting weaker. She was there on the moon for 1,000 years. How she survived without any food or water, let's not think too deeply. This is a cartoon, but let's just assume because they're alicorn, maybe they have like really special metabolisms or whatever. Like I don't know.
Or crystal stasis or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And she weakened over all that time. And then when she came back, we saw her in that first form in season 1. And I think you notice we never saw her again until season 2 afterwards. What if between the time in season 1, the premiere, and to when she reappeared in in Luna Eclipse in season 4, she was kind of
season 2, not 4.
Yeah, you're right. Season 2, my bad. In season 2, when she reappeared between the time of Friendship is Magic parts 1 and 2 to Luna Eclipse in season 2, maybe during that time the reason we didn't see Luna and we only saw Celestia is because Luna was busy regaining her strength and slowly regaining her former appearance. And when she was finally, fully recharged or whatever, she returned during Nightmare Night, and we saw what happened in that episode. That's the way I like to think about it, because I think we'll never get an official explanation, but that's satisfactory to me. That explanation to me makes a lot of sense, and that's what I think essentially why her appearance changed. So I think that explains that. Personally, I like the Luna's modern appearance a lot better than the first appearance. Yeah, sure. In season 1, she was cute, and there's a lot of great, really cute fan art of her from her older version of herself. But I really like the Luna of today, the constellation, the main with the constellation, the stars and everything. Just that her really dark coat, it gives her this mysterious vibe and complexion that she is the night ponified. She is the night. She is the essence of that, and that's very well communicated through her appearance and her demeanor. Not just because she's officially titled as the Princess of the Night and whatever, and she can walk in people's dreams and all, but because of that appearance alone, that's essentially what she's meant to represent. So I really do like her modern design a lot, and I think it really complements Celestia's as well. So I really do prefer the modern version more. But like I said, her original appearance is still, cute, but she looks a lot cooler the way she is now.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely... The change to make her look the way she does now was definitely the right decision. And again, we could go on about this forever because we all have our own headcanons about this. But yeah, I've heard the same story. I'm inclined to believe that that's probably what happened, even though they're never officially going to tell us, which kind of is annoying. It's like the ultimate cliffhanger that's always going to be there unless they actually decide to say, well, this is what happened, But...
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, my next question is, what was your favorite song from season 1? Because there was a lot of them. So what was your favorite song and why?
Ed can go first on that one.
That is a very good question. It's a tough question to answer because there were a lot of good songs in season 1. I remember when I first watched season 1 as a new brony, we hadn't seen any songs since, in the first episode or the second episode with Giggle at the Ghostlies, right? Well, not counting the little small songs that Pinky had here and there. Those don't really count the way I look at it. But we didn't get another full-on song until we got to episode 11, Winter Wrap-Up. And everybody loved that song when it first came out. That's when the remixes and the fandom first started coming together, with Living Tombstone and everybody else back when it was just starting to emerge. And that's the song that everybody loved when they heard it. I loved that song. I remember I wasn't expecting a song in that episode. And then when I heard it, it's like, wow, this is really beautiful. The harmony in here, the melody, this show has great singing talent. And like I said before, I've never been a fan of musicals, live action or otherwise, but MLP changed my view on that. Because the songs are so good, thanks to the genius composer Daniel Ingram. We're very fortunate to have that guy because he's a hell of a composer. He knows his stuff, And every song that we've had in the show, I don't think any of them are truly mediocre. There's some that are a lot better than others, but I don't think any of them are truly mediocre, which is a testament to his genius, his creative genius. In season 1 songs, when I was a new brony, I really gravitated later on to the Cutie Mark Crusader song, which was intentionally sung bad by Scootaloo for the story point. But I liked it. I loved it because of the whole rock get-up that they had, the 80s rock throwback. I thought it was, being that they were all Phillies, I thought they looked cute like that, and it was cool at the same time, and I really appreciated that. And I really liked the Cutie Mark Crusaders from the first episode they appeared in, so I was instantly a fan of them, so that helped too. Shut up. But And so Winter Wrap-Up I loved, that Cutie Mark Crusader song I loved, but then when we got to At the Gala, wow, that song was the best one by far. It blew everybody away, and that song was just like this awesome Broadway tribute thing. It was a great song, and at the same time it was telling a story of what the main 6 expected at the gala that night, and it was just so well choreographed and put together. I thoroughly enjoyed that. The coolest parts. My favorite parts of that song at the gala are Pinky's part, Rainbow's part, and Twilight's part. I think those are the three best parts of that. But everybody has their opinions on that particular thing. But the song as a whole is amazing. Looking back now, I mean, it's really hard. It's a tie for me between Winter Wrap Up and At the Gala. Like, if I really had to choose one, and if you really forced me to choose one, I'd give a slight edge to At the Gala for my favorite season 1 song, but Winter Wrap Up is very close to that.
Well, you can if you want. Just tie them as number 1. It's not a big deal. So if you want to tie the two as number 1, that's fine. Cause
I guess I'll do that. Yeah, they're tied.
Yeah, because I can agree with you. Those two were definitely the best ones of season 1. I mean, not that they weren't all good. I mean, they were just so many awesome songs that it's just like whatever. But if I had to narrow it down, I gotta go with Ed's choice and agree with him 100%. When whatever he said, Mon, your turn.
Yeah. So for you, it's At the Gala and Winter Wrap Up then.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like it's been said, there really weren't a lot of songs for season 1 because, as far as I can tell, the only times that we heard any songs were in the second part of the 2-parter. Let's see what else. And I think the next time we heard one was Winter Wrap Up, then Suited for Success. And we didn't get one till the Showstoppers, and then after that I don't think we got one until the At the Gala. Until the Best Night Ever, which was At the Gala. But if I had to choose one, I don't know. I mean, I guess I would choose... It would have to be between Winter Wrap Up, because honestly, that has to be one of the best songs in the entire series overall. But I don't know about At the Gala. I kind of like The Art of the Dress a lot more than than At the Gala. I think At the Gala is like a close second, but it's a tie for me between Winter Wrap Up and Art of the Dress. And I chose Art of the Dress as a tie for first because honestly, there's something about Kazumi Evans' voice that is just like, I don't know, it's so like perfect, and it's not like too soprano-y, and it's not too like in the alto range. It's just like, it's like silky. It's nice. And I know that sounds really weird. But
you are a sad,
honestly,
strange
like,
little man.
I kind of like that song for the fact that it's like I think it's one of the only songs in the entire series where there are a few interruptions between different parts of the song. Where they're making where Rarity's just sort of asking each of the main 6, like, what do you want? And then there's that spawned so many memes. You gotta admit that spawned the 20% cooler meme. That spawned Fluttershy being the seamstress, like the secret seamstress. Twilight, it just solidified that Twilight is kind of unaware sometimes of certain things. And then like who else was there? Pinkie Pie. Well, she was just Pinkie Pie. And then, oh god, who am I forgetting? Applejack, and Applejack's just like, I just wanted to look like my work duds, and I'm like, oh my god. It's like, that is why you are my least favorite of the main 6. But anyway, I probably pissed off a lot of people with that. But yeah, I don't know.
No worse than I piss off people each week on this show. No, I'm just kidding. But
on your choice of your number 1 song of Art of the Dress, you would make Tommy Oliver very happy because that's his favorite song.
You have turned to the dark side, therefore you must be fired too. No, but seriously. Seriously though, like, Art of the Dress was a good song, I'm not gonna lie, but I gotta stick with the Winter Wrap Up and At the Gala, because those two just, I don't know, they seem more memorable than Art of the Dress to me. But then again, Art of the Dress itself was good. I mean, let's just take all the songs and just say they're all #1, okay?
Well, I don't know about that. I will have to say Art of the Dress, and this is gonna be considered blasphemy, and a lot of people are gonna hate me for this, but to be honest, Art of the Dress is my least favorite song of the entire show. I'm sorry everybody, but it is. I love Rarity's song in season 2, Sweet Becoming Popular. That's a lot better, and Generosity, but this song from Rarity, the first one, I just something about it. I just don't like it that much. I don't know why. I just don't.
Because you are gay. But that's another story that we'll save for another podcast. But so animation wise, what did you guys think about the animation of season 1?
Well, I guess if I had to rate it in comparison with a lot of what we've seen lately, there were a lot. I think there was I gotta get some words out here. There's this YouTuber that I think actually made Luna's General Workday. That one animation where she fights.
Yeah.
Celestia and that whatever it is. I don't even know if it's Tekken or Street Fighter. But basically, oh, it's Tatsunoko versus Capcom. Actually, they actually announced that in the actual video. But derp. But anyway, the main point is the guy's name is I think it's White Falcon Punch or something like that, and it's what he does is that aside from doing his own animations, he did this one series called Animation Errors Are Forever or something like that. My little animation errors are forever. And when he pointed out all the season 1 things, like all those ones in season 1, all this animation errors, I was like, wow, like there were a lot of glitches. I mean, there were points where like tails weren't even attached. There were points where cutie marks were just like disappearing. Not to mention the creepy, noteworthy Cyclops.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that thing is just
that little glitch there.
Yeah, and then let's not forget Fall Weather Friends, like the multiple rainbow dashes in the race. She passes herself twice in the same race, and then the one time it's just her head and she doesn't even have a body. It's just.
Or when she lost her mane, and then like the one time where what was it? Oh yeah, Rainbow's wings come off during the season 1 and 2 intro, the theme song. If you look closely, her wings come off. Yeah,
and not to mention Fluttershy had Rainbow Dash's wings and Ticketmaster. It's just. But to their credit though, they were just getting started with it, so they weren't exactly so they have some familiarity with it, but again, they were just getting started, so like there's bound to be flaws in anything, and they've definitely come a long way. So
yeah. I mean, and it was new technology.
Well, it wasn't exactly new technology. Flash has been around for years and years and years. It's just how you use it. It's like I said, it was a learning curve for them, and I personally I can't like as funny as like a lot of those animation errors are, and they're always fun to go back and watch. And now once you've seen them, you can't unsee it, but. I really don't give them any points off for it because again, they were just getting started. So, I mean, if I really had to put a rating on it though, compared to what like we are in now, I mean, I definitely rate it like 6.5.
Yeah,
but again, like they were just getting started. So, you guys might as well just jump in because.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. And like I was starting to say before, they were just starting out. And I mean, honestly, the fact that we've come as if we actually have the show, they've come a long way from where they once were, as Celestia sung in the season 3 finale. You've come such a long, long way. Okay, no, I farted
and it smells really
bad. But they've come a long way. They've come a very long way from where they once were, And I mean, if you just look at Nightmare Moon's transformation in the season 4 opener, it's like, oh my god, they got like, they not only did they get they got all these parallax effects in there, but they got like cinematography, like all these nice little angles. It's just like, you wouldn't have seen that in season 1. So I mean, comparatively, yeah, I would have to give them a pretty decent rating. Like, it's not a great rating. It wouldn't be, like, oh my god, 10 out of 10, it was great. It would be more, around where Flutter's put it, sort of in the 6 to 7 range. Decent for a start.
Yeah, exactly. Ed, what would you rate it? Like,
I would rate it about the same. I mean, like, there's another factor that we haven't brought up, in that not only were they still new to, I mean, Flash itself, like you said, is not new technology, but the animation style that they're using in 2010, that was in its infancy, that kind of like Flash, animation, and they were new to it. But another thing that also contributed to the lesser quality in season 1, they had a much smaller budget. They didn't know how long this show was going to last. It was going to be one season and that's it. This was before the Brony thing kicked off, and everything just exploded, and then subsequent seasons, they've gotten much bigger budgets, so they can do a lot more animation-wise and with effects, because they got more money to work with. Back then, they were limited by their limited experience with the Flash style they were using, plus there was less money to go around. Now in season 4, they probably got a multi-million-dollar budget for the animation alone, so they can do a bunch of stuff with it, But back then, they're starting out, they don't know how long the show is going to last, so they basically just work bare bones with what they're allocated with. And that's we see the marked improvement in the animation going on to season 2, season 3, and season 4. But the lighting and shadow effects that we have now, I don't even think they were technologically feasible with the engine that they were using in season 1. So I mean, I think every season they've kind of upgraded their Flash engine, or the model that they use for the animation. It's been really interesting and really fun to see the incremental and then dramatic improvements throughout the seasons of the show as it progresses. But yeah, I would give it a 6 out of 10 for season 1, like you guys did.
It's like in season 5, they're going to look like real horses.
No, season 5, they're going to be 3D and cell shaded and in your face with holographic glasses that every viewer of the hub gets to have to watch the show.
Man, that would just destroy it. But
I know, but it's fun to think about.
It is fun to think about, but think about it. How many things that have made the leap to 3D have actually been that good?
Not many.
Point conceded.
I mean, just look at, like, and this has absolutely nothing to do with the podcast, but just look at that thing that they're bringing back from, like, the 50s, that thing with the dog and the kid with the glasses that travel through time. I saw the 3D models of that, and I was like, oh my god, it's
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That is pretty bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's fun to see, like, the 3D ponies in PMVs on YouTube and stuff, but for the love of God, do not make the show that way, because it'll ruin it. It will kill it. It'll just be like, it's enough to make me want to just shoot myself because I'm even thinking about it. But in before suicide happens on the show. No, I'm just kidding. And for love, but I probably shouldn't have said that. I regret that now. But, too late. But voice actors. What do you guys think about the voice actors? Do you think they're the proper choices? Do you think that they're not the right ponies? Like, because I know that originally, and this is going to sound weird, but I know originally Tara Strong was originally supposed to be Rainbow Dash and I think Rarity. So just imagine what that would have been like. So what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think the voice actors absolutely fit their roles, or do you think they should have switched them up?
Oh god, the voice acting in this cartoon. Let's just put it this way. This is coming from a guy who used to watch dubbed animes like Sailor Moon, and when I look back on that, I'm like, oh my god, the dubbing is just it's like it's horrible. Like, they don't, like, oh, I know this isn't even related to the podcast. I'll make a digression here, but like, if you ever listen to Serena and Sailor Moon, she sounds so like
awful,
too girly. She sounds way too freaking girly, and she's like, oh. But anyway, like, this is the whole that like MLP is the polar opposite of that. The characters are like perfect. Well, the voice actresses and the voice actors are perfect for the roles almost. I mean, I honestly can't really find any points where like we have like where there's any contention in my mind where it seems like the voice acting for a certain character is off. Because like with Tara, it's like she described in the Brony doc pretty well. Like it's in her mid range. It's not too high. It's not like, you know, up there like Pinkie Pie. I can't do that because obviously I'm not a girl. But it's not like.
Are you sure? I'm gonna need to see some documentation.
But but anyway, yeah, no, it's like it's not too high like Pinkie Pie, and it's not very low. Like, and honestly, Luna is kind of in the lower range. It's not there. It's like right in that middle range, and it's kind of cutesy, but not too cutesy that it's overwhelming. It's adorkable, basically. That's the perfect way to describe it. She's very adorkable. And like she has this she has so many different modes that she has with her voice. I can't even begin to describe them all. But like you go with each of the main 6, like you know, Rarity, her you know, the transatlantic accent plus sort of the very prissy, sort of like high pitched, very, you know, snooty voice. It works for Rarity. I mean, even though that's not all of her personality, it works like as a default voice. So, I mean, that works. And like Pinkie Pie that just is great. Andrea Libman's great. And Fluttershy Fluttershy in the first episode, that was like perfect. Like, cause she's just like that was perfect acting. Like, I'm like, oh my god, that's so cute. Like, I know I'm fanboying over this, and this isn't very professional, but anyway.
No, not at all. I didn't notice.
But anyway.
Mon, since when are we ever professional on this show? I mean,
no, but
speak for the two of you. I'm always
very. But anyway, to get to the last point, like AJ works. Like AJ and Rainbow Dash are the same voice actress, but like they work really well. You know, even though I don't really like AJ's character, like that accent works really well with, you know, her character. You know, I could go on and on with the CMC and everything, but it's just, I mean, damn, like I've never seen voice acting this spot on, and not to mention like the singing. Like some of these voice actresses are really talented, and some of these voice actors are even really talented. Like Peter New is pretty good at singing, as we've seen from some of the stuff in the latest season, even, you know, earlier, I guess maybe in earlier seasons, he might have done backing voices. But yeah, I mean, just, it's really good. I mean, just compared to like what I've seen in the past, it's a breath of fresh air for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah. I hold on, I gotta get myself here. I agree with pretty much everything you said. Like the voice acting is like absolutely perfect. I mean, to think that Tara Strong was once cast as like Rainbow Dash and I think Rarity, I mean, that would have just been awful if she had actually got that part, because she definitely fits the role of Twilight perfectly, and whatever other various voices she might do in the background for.
She did one of Bon's voices.
Wow, the many voices of Bon. We will get to the mystery one day. Which one is the real? Which
is the real one?
I don't know, but mine's got rocks in it.
That was awful. My ears are literally bleeding from that. Thanks, but seriously though, like the voice actors in this show, absolutely the right cast, absolutely perfect, absolutely spot on. If one of them was to leave for any reason, I think the show would be ruined. Because I know that in previous shows, like for example, Tiny Toon Adventures, the guy that they originally had doing Buster Bunny quit and moved on to Animaniacs in like season 3. The guy that got to replace him, he wasn't like bad, but it was a noticeable difference that the voice wasn't the same. And it would just be a shame if we lost any of the voice actors we have now. So, like, yeah, it's the perfect cast and it should never change. Ed, what do you think?
You guys pretty much said everything I was going to say. I've never seen this show, and I've seen many in my day, cartoons, anime, and otherwise. And this is by far one of the best, if not the best, casts I have ever seen for all these diverse characters. I mean, the cast in this show and MLP is perfect. I mean, I can't think of one example where the character sounded off or whatever. Even from the protagonist, the main six, down to the very most minor character, they've all been perfect. You know. Like somebody who commented here in the chat here was saying, when they redubbed Derpy's scene, when Tabitha did the new voice of Derpy after the whole scandal with that, yeah, it sounded off and it sounded bad, but that was due to other complicated issues. But 99.9% of the time, this show, the voice acting is phenomenal. I one of the things I noticed that really got me to the show, that you can tell that the actors care about their characters. They put emotion into them. There's genuine range, and there's just dynamic, feeling to them, and they sound so organic. They sound like they're real people. If you close your eyes, I mean, they could be people I mean, they sound like they're real. The character's so vibrant, and they bring them to life in such a way that I have rarely seen in all my years of watching various anime, cartoons, and whatever. This is a very well done not dub, but just line of voice acting here. It's amazing, and down to the most minor characters, they nail it on every occasion. So I have absolutely no complaints about the voice acting. It's a solid 10 out of 10 for me in every season.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, again, spot on. Okay, I'm out of things to ask. So, do you guys have anything that you want to talk about the season in general, like things that you may have liked or didn't like?
I guess what I'd have to say about the season overall, actually not overall. Let me scratch that. If I had to pick a least favorite episode, I know that I can pick a favorite episode and a least favorite episode. I would have to say my favorite episode out of all 26 of those episodes would have to be Sonic Rainboom, just because that was still during the time that I liked Rainbow Dash. So, I mean, like, to see her, like, fangirling at the end because, like, she not only saved the Wonder Bolts and did something that she didn't think she could have done, but, like, the fact that, like, Celestia even was like, "Oh, you're so great, Rainbow Dash," and she's just like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh," like, she does it, her trademark, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh." Like, I don't know, it was just great, like, to see that. My least favorite episode, and I think there are a lot of people who might agree with me on this, All's Well That Ends Well. Yeah, it really suffers from the Spike syndrome. Like, they, even from the beginning, really had a hard time writing for Spike. Because, to be honest with you, is he really that much of an important character that we need to give him an episode? I mean, really?
I think they're focusing too much on the older generations, where Spike was...
right, he was a major character.
Yeah, like, he was a major character, and I could see that they wanted to keep some of that element, but in reality, Spike he's there when he's needed, but they gotta stop giving him episodes. They really do.
Yeah, I mean, like, to go into more detail about that episode in particular, it was just... I mean, not only did Spike, like, really just seem jealous over something so trivial as, like, "Oh, am I your number one assistant? Oh, no, shit, I'm your number 2 assistant. Oh my god, my life is ruined!" It's like, what the fuck? Like, dude... Why would you? First of all, why would you even think that? You've been with Twilight. Like, Twilight is like almost like your mother in a way. And then there's creepy actual like comics about that, but we won't go into that. But like, not only that, but like, it's just like, I don't know. Like it just irked me because he didn't seem to like really understand that Owlicious wasn't even trying to be, very arrogant or anything else like that. He was just being an owl, saying, "Woo, woo." And, like, I mean, like, he had Owlicious didn't get a real personality until, like, season 2. So, like, it just didn't make sense. And I forgot who wrote that episode, but whoever wrote that episode is just like, why did you do such a bad job?
Yeah, that episode it was something. In fact, it's in my top 10 worst episodes list, but we'll get to that another time. But yeah, that episode was pretty bad. As for me, like if I have to pick an absolute favorite episode, I have to go with Dragon Shy every single time. Not only because it has my favorite character in it, but it was just such a really really good episode, and there was a lot of humor in it. Like it was just there was I can't find anything.
Well, fainting Fluttershy syndrome, like the fainting goat syndrome.
Yeah, the fainting goat syndrome. The fact that Rainbow just flies in and kicks the damn dragon in the face. The fact, yeah, the fact, and then at the end when Fluttershy lands on him, the dragon goes completely cross-eyed, which is hilarious. So you got this big, huge cross-eyed dragon, and then he starts crying. But the Rainbow one kicked me. It's absolutely the best. Worst episode. I gotta think about that. I don't know. I'll come back to that later. Ed.
It's really difficult for me, unlike the two of you, to pick one single episode that would be my utmost favorite in season one, because there's a lot of episodes that I absolutely love. Like I am not even going to give them a ranking because it's just too much thinking for me to do. Like I'll just say the ones I really love. Like I loved Applebuck season. I absolutely love that episode. It was funny. You know, the whole instance with AJ. It's like, well, I don't need any help. I can do it all by myself. You know what I mean? You know, the whole hilarity with her falling asleep and, you know, all the shenanigans that arise from that. I mean, that was the first episode I was laughing out loud out of my chair. Like the one time when she's going up to the seesaw with Rainbow Dash. It's like, yeah, I need you to help me catapult me so I can do this new trick I've been trying to learn. Can you help me, AJ? I know you're supposed to be really athletic. So I go, oh, sure, no problem. She jumps up. Like 3 or 4 times, she just, you know, face plants herself into the ground. When she finally gets it right, she jumps too high, too much force. It's like Applejack, and like she lands in Twilight's balcony, and Twilight's like, AJ, right? It's like, yep. It's like that's it. I'm gonna help her. You know? The whole episode is just awesome. Griffin the Brush Off. I love Gilda. I always thought she was a fascinating character. I wish we would see her come back. I'd like to learn more about like how her and Rainbow Dash interacted. Like what was their history? Like obviously they were in school together. They were friends, but like I just want to see more of her character. I thought she was an interesting kind of like bully or antagonist character. And I love the whole dynamic between Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash in that episode. And you know, I love how like Gilda thinks Pinkie's the one who's been playing the pranks on her at the end to get back at her. But Pinkie's not a vindictive character. She doesn't know that. It turns out to be Rainbow Dash in the end. And Gilda's like, "What? No, Dash, you got to be joshing me." It's like, no, it's like, well, you know, whatever. Obviously, you're not as cool as I thought you were. Blah 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 blah. And like, you know. And then the whole thing, like that one scene where like Fluttershy is like, Pinkie Pie said something to her. I forgot exactly what she said. And Fluttershy is like, I'm a year older than you. And I always found that to be like really funny. There's the way she said that. I love that.
So you know what, like, and it's always been brought back to this. You know what that means, though, right? Andrea Libman is a year older than Andrea Libman.
That's the truth. That's a good insight. Other episodes. I mean, I like Dragon Shy not as much as Flutter's because obviously Fluttershy is his favorite pony. Still a good episode. Let me see. Bridal Gossip, first episode Zecora, that was interesting. Zecora has always been an interesting character to me. I'd like to know more about her back history, where she's from. I know we'll never get an episode about her, but going more into a backstory would definitely be something I'd like to see in a future episode. And then let me see. Winter Wrap Up because of the song. I love that episode. The other one, I would say also, you know, Sonnet Rainbow. I love that episode. It's in my top 10 episodes of all time in the show. In fact, it's an awesome episode for, you know, Mon already stated that. I would also go along and say I really liked the Cutie Mark Crusaders when they first came around. I know some people, like a sizable amount of the fandom, didn't like them at first. I loved them from the beginning. I thought they were adorable, they were cute, they were charming, and I loved seeing all the shenanigans they would get up to try to get their cutie marks. You know, I love the Showstoppers. A lot of people, from what I've seen around the fandom, people think that's in a way it's a filler episode, yeah, and there is like minutes where it's just montages to fill up the time. But I love that episode because they're setting up the dynamic of the CMC, and I just love the interactions between the characters. I found it funny, and that the obvious fact is they're trying to find out what their talents are. They're right in front of them, and they're so blind being children they can't see it. It's like, well, Alpha Bloom's like, oh, I'm really got to do the choreography because I'm really good at that. And it's like, oh, well, Scooter's like, oh, I'm going to sing this awesome rock ballad because I'm totally the best singer ever. And Sweetie Belle's like, well, I guess I'll just do the costumes because Rarity's my sister, so I guess I have to do the same thing because family. I don't know reasons, and the whole song and the whole get up with the rock outfit and the 80s throwback, it was cute on them. It was cool. I enjoyed that, even though it was sung bad. I thought it was pretty cool. Cutie Mark Chronicles is one of the best episodes of the entire show. Even to this day, it stands very strong. And Cutie Mark Chronicles is in my top 10 episodes as well. I loved it. That was such a crucial episode story-wise because you learn about the backstory of the main six, that they were destined to become friends from years ago. And when I first saw that episode, it blew my mind away. It's like, wow, they put so much thought into these characters. I did not expect that. And I gained a whole new level of respect and appreciation for the main six as a result after that. I never saw them the same way since. That's an amazing episode. That's like a near perfect episode. It's like really high score. I'd give that episode like a 9.5 out of 10. It's a really good episode. And then Party of One. That's an awesome Pinkie Pie episode. That whole scene where I love how she thought that they were avoiding her because they didn't want to do anything to do with her parties anymore. But then it was all in Pinkie's head because she seems to have this insecurity that she's going to lose her friends one day, and she can't handle that. And the thought of it breaks her mentally. And that whole scene where she went in was psychotic and her mane went down, she became Pinkamena, that was really dark and risky for a kid's show. And I love that they did that. And it was funny, but at the same time, it was kind of creepy. Because when I first saw the episode, I was like, wow, I don't know what to think about this. This is cool, but at the same time, I'm completely caught off guard. I didn't expect this in MLP. This is amazing writing here. And then, fortunately, she gets back to her normal self in the end. But it was fascinating to see that she's not just this. Prior to that, we all assumed she was just one-dimensional party-obsessed pony, and there was not much else to her that we knew about. But then we learned that she is a very complicated character, and I gained more respect for her after that episode. And then, of course, finally, the best night ever, the season 1 finale at the gala. The amazing song. That was a great story. I loved how the main six went in with these expectations. Like, this is going to be the best night ever because this reason. Because tonight's the night, in Rarity's case, I'm going to meet the stallion of my dreams and marry Prince Blueblood. Of course, he turned out to be a complete douchebag, but that's another story. Which was really hilarious. I love the part where he's like, oh, please, oh, Prince Blueblood, thank you for putting that thing to, taking that article of my clothing to put on that puddle of water so I don't have to step on it.
One should put the cloak on that puddle. And it's like, one should. And then he's just like, and then she's like, and I'm like, oh my God.
And then at the end, of course, it's like, oh, you don't like to get dirty? Just race all that. That was hilarious. I like being covered in mud. That's a whole nother story. And then, of course, Fluttershy going, like, nobody saw that coming, where she freaks out about the animals, and she goes to the point where she gets so frustrated. She says, you're going to love me. It's like, whoa, Fluttershy. I didn't know you had a psychotic aspect of your personality as well. We already got Pinkamena here. Now we got you. I'm thinking these main six ponies might need to sit down to therapy one day. They might need some help. I don't know. All of that, Rainbow Dash with the Wonderbolts, and every element that happened in that story. That episode was so well put together, and it was a perfect way to end a great season. And I gave another high score to that episode as well. So I would say, yeah, all those episodes I listed: Applebuck Season, Griffin the Brush Off. I forgot to mention Ghostbusters, but I love that because of Trixie. Winter Wrap Up, Showstoppers, Cutie Mark Chronicles, Party of One, At the Gala. Those are my top favorite episodes of that season. My least favorite episodes, I would say what you guys said, Owlicious one. I forget what that one's called. All's Well That Ends Well, yeah. And then the one that I hate more than that, though, the number one episode to this day that I dislike the most out of all of MLP is Look Before You Sleep. It is one of the most girliest episodes of the entire show. It was exactly the opposite of what Lauren was trying to produce, I feel, because she wanted to avoid the kind of girly stereotypes and make it more like whatever. But like they were doing a slumber party. Applejack and Rudy, yeah, some parts of that were funny, the interactions and stuff, but it was so girly, it was so cliche, it was almost like a throwback to the previous MLP generations. It felt like G3, but with G4 animation almost. And then Twilight was completely out of character. She was like really dumb and kind of ditzy in that episode. Well, I've never seen her act like that to that extreme ever since or before that. It was out of character. I get they're doing it for comedic reasons. I don't remember the writer of that episode. It might have been Meriwether Williams or somebody else, but that episode...
It's always Meriwether Williams.
That episode was just awful. I mean, look, I'll be fair. I give it a 6 out of 10, which is my lowest rating out of any episode in the show. I won't go any lower than that. Even then, as much as I dislike that episode and I think it's kind of mediocre, it's not unwatchable. I will watch it every once in a while, and even the worst episode of MLP... Even the worst episode of MLP is 5 times better than half the crap we got on Cartoon Network in this day and age. So that says a lot about the quality of the show overall. You know, like the only episode that comes close to my disliking to that episode, my number 2 least favorite episode, is not even until season 3, which is Games Ponies Play. But that's another story right there. But yeah, so those are the episodes I love in season 1, and that's like, you know, All's Well That Ends Well and Look Before You Sleep are the only episodes I don't really care for in season 1. Everything else I either love or I'm okay with. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, there was so much good. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned Look Before You Sleep, because I was actually going to say that's the one I was going to pick for my absolute worst episode of the season. But I don't have to say anything about it now because you did it for me. So that concludes that for me. But,
one thing I want to bring up, since we're still, if you have any other ideas, like what did you guys think about the CMC when they first came around? Did you have any favorable impressions of them, or did you not like them, or I mean, what did you think? Because I know a lot of people thought they were filler characters, but they grew to love them in later seasons. But I loved them from the beginning. What did you guys think about them?
Well, I was the same as you. I think I kind of got attached to them from the beginning. I mean, to be honest with you, I thought they were a little bit sort of more naive and more, it's horrible to say, but dumber in the earlier seasons. They were written to be dumber, but I mean, I guess that comes with the fact that they are sort of aging as the seasons progress. So, I mean, I took that into account and I understood why it was that way. So, I mean, I wouldn't say like, oh my God, they're like the next best thing since sliced toast or sliced bread or whatever. Like, it wasn't like that. Like, I wasn't obsessing over it, but like, I definitely thought they were nice characters to have because, you know, it sort of gives like a dual tiered system to the ages of the ponies. Like, you know, you have the main 6 who are a little bit older and all the different people who are the same age as them. And then you have the fillies, you know, the same, you know, like Sweetie Belle, Scootaloo, Apple Bloom, Diamond Tiara, Silver Spoon, blah, 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 blah. You could go on and on and on with so many different, you know, other characters that age. But I don't know. I just like that they introduced that sort of dual tier system. And it's you know, it's not like the other previous generations where, you know, you would see different age variations, but, you know, you probably wouldn't see them all that much. You would just see them every once in a while.
Yeah, pretty much. My thoughts on the CMC? Gay? No, I'm just kidding. Like, right from the beginning, I knew they were going to be good characters, so I just automatically liked them right from the beginning. But I actually have a fun fact for you guys. What is the first episode that they appeared?
Friendship is Magic Part 1 at the end, where that was an error there. They weren't supposed to show them, and they showed them all cowering in fear in front of Nightmare Moon when she first appeared.
Yeah. Well, technically it wasn't an error. You know why they did that, right? They put them in, they put them in there so that their generic credits would make sense.
Oh, yeah, because they did show the entire list of the VAs, even back then, before they were formally introduced. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I mean, technically, it is a huge error because they haven't met yet, but they literally just slapped them in there for no more than 5 seconds just so they could put the full credits in. But anyways, guys, we're at like an hour and 23 minutes into this, so I think it's time to call it a show.
Mm-hmm.
And join us again next week on Alicorn Radio, of course, and the on YouTube later on, like once it gets uploaded. And if you want to find out more about the Flutter Brigade and all of our stuff as a whole, you could visit our website at flutterbrigade.com, or you could check out our Twitter at @flutterbrigade on Twitter. Anyways, thank you and good night.
Bye bye.